Okay, so get this.
Uh-huh.
Imagine you live in a city with almost 1 million people,
Mm-hmm.
and you keep running into your exes.
Oh,
Not just once,
okay.
but over and over
Yeah.
with different exes.
Oh, no.
Like, that's the situation we're diving into today.
Okay.
It's pulled straight from this Reddit post that's like equal parts cringeworthy
Yeah.
and fascinating.
I can see that.
Yeah.
So what's really interesting to me about this is it's not just about the awkwardness of running into,
Right,
someone you used to date or whatever.
right.
The original poster,
The OP.
yeah, the OP, as they say on Reddit,
Yeah.
is like genuinely unsettled by how often this is happening,
Sure.
especially because they don't share neighborhoods or social circles.
Exactly, like 5 times in a year and a half with one ex. And we're not talking like quick glimpses across the street.
No.
4 out of those 5 times were at the same movie theater.
Oh, wow.
A place she says she only goes to like every couple of months.
Yeah. So it makes you wonder, like,
Yeah.
if there's something more going on when
Right.
you see a pattern like that.
Totally.
And she even points out that,
Yeah.
they used to go to that theater together when they were dating.
Mm-hmm.
But there are theaters much closer to where her ex lives now.
Right.
It's like, why is he at this one
Yeah.
that's so far away?
Yeah, some of the comments went straight to like the stalker theory,
Right.
especially because another ex ended up being neighbors with one of the OP's close friends.
Oh, wow.
So she was running into him like weekly.
Oh, my gosh. That's
That's a lot.
I know. Yeah, I can see why people would jump to that conclusion.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, personal safety is like the most important thing.
Yes,
And if anyone feels threatened, they need to take that seriously.
for sure.
But I also think it's important to consider other possibilities, too.
Right.
Before assuming the worst,
Absolute.
it might not be malicious.
Totally. Like,
Yeah.
not every ex encounter is a scene from a psychological thriller.
Exactly.
Sometimes it might just be down to like shared routines or,
Mm.
just the weird ways our lives overlap,
Yeah.
even after a relationship ends.
Yeah, think about it.
Yeah,
We're creatures of habit.
totally.
We go to the same places,
Mhm.
even subconsciously. So
Yeah.
it's totally possible that certain locations
Yeah.
could still be part of both people's routines,
Yeah.
leading to these seemingly random run-ins.
Yeah, and it's not even just the specific locations, right?
Right.
This OP also ran into an ex at a music festival
What?
3 hours away.
Oh my God.
It makes you think about that whole like small world phenomenon
Yeah.
and how interconnected we all are.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, really?
These chance encounters really highlight how interwoven our social networks can be,
Yeah.
even when we think we've moved on to completely different circles.
It's like, is the universe playing some kind of cosmic joke?
Right.
I mean, some of the comments were suggesting that like the ex moved to her neighborhood on purpose.
Yeah.
Because she had shown him how great it was when they were dating.
Oh my gosh.
But like, maybe it's just bad luck.
Yeah.
Or, like you said, shared patterns.
It's so interesting how our minds try to make sense of these things.
Yeah.
These seemingly random events.
Right.
We look for patterns for meaning, and sometimes we end up seeing things that aren't really there.
Right.
Like, that's where confirmation bias comes into play.
Okay, so confirmation bias.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
So imagine you're convinced that you're going to run into your ex,
Okay.
like everywhere you go, because you believe that you're going.
Yeah.
You start to like pay extra attention to everyone you see,
Oh, yeah.
and suddenly every tall brunette with a beard looks like your ex.
Totally. Oh, I've so been there.
Yeah.
Like you start noticing every car that looks like theirs.
Uh-huh.
Every coffee shop they might go to. It's like you're hyper aware of anything that could even be remotely connected to them.
Confirmation bias basically means that once we're primed to notice something,
Yeah.
we see it everywhere.
Yeah.
Even if it's not actually happening more frequently, our brains are just wired to look for patterns
Okay.
and make connections,
Right.
which can be helpful in a lot of situations.
Yeah.
But it can also lead us to see patterns where none exist.
So are we like setting ourselves up for these awkward encounters by just like anticipating them?
Yeah.
Even dreading them?
Exactly. The anticipation itself can create anxiety and stress,
Oh.
even if the encounter is ultimately harmless.
And you know what's interesting is that the OP even mentions feeling anxious.
Yeah.
Even when there's no actual interaction with the ex. It's like that feeling of being watched or judged,
Right.
even if it's all in her head.
That's such a common experience.
Yeah.
It really speaks to like the lingering psychological impact of past relationships.
Yeah.
Even if we've like logically moved on, our emotions might not always catch up at the same pace.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
It takes time, yeah. Those past experiences, especially the emotionally charged ones,
Yeah.
they really leave mark on us.
Right.
It's like our brains create this like emotional memory file. And even just a brief encounter with someone from our past
Yeah.
can trigger all those stored feelings,
Totally.
whether it's sadness or anger,
Right.
or even like a flicker of that old affection.
Oh, yeah. And those feelings can be so intense.
Yeah.
Even if you haven't thought about the person in ages.
Right.
It's like they're right there with you again.
Yes.
Even if they just like walked past you in the grocery store
Mm.
and didn't even see you.
Totally. And it can be especially disorienting
Yeah.
if you've consciously moved on
Right.
and feel like you've done the work to process those emotions. And then suddenly you're hit with this wave of like unexpected feelings.
Yeah.
And it can make you question how far you've really come.
It's almost like your fight or flight response kicks in.
Right.
Even though there's no real threat,
Yeah.
your heart races, your palms sweat, and you just feel this urge to either hide or run away,
Yeah.
even if the encounter is totally mundane.
It's because our brains are wired to scan for threats.
Right.
And those primal instincts don't always differentiate
Yeah.
between like a physical danger
Mhm.
and an emotional trigger.
Okay.
So in those moments, it can be helpful to remind yourself you know that you're safe,
Right.
that this person doesn't have power over you anymore,
Mhm.
and that these feelings will pass.
Easier said than done, though. Right.
Oh, totally.
But I think it's important to at least acknowledge those feelings.
Yes,
Even the messy ones,
absolutely.
instead of trying to like suppress them or pretend they're not there.
Trying to suppress those emotions often just makes them stronger.
Right.
So allowing yourself to feel them,
Yes.
to process them,
Uh-huh.
to understand where they're coming from is a much healthier approach.
Totally.
And sometimes a little humor can go a long way too.
Oh, for sure.
You know, just to diffuse the tension.
Right. Some of these situations are so absurd
Yeah.
that you just can't help but laugh.
Exactly.
Remember that comment about the ex moving to the OP's neighborhood?
Oh, yeah.
Because she showed him how great it was?
Oh, my God.
It's like something out of a sitcom.
It's a perfect example of how reframing the situation with a touch of humor
Yeah,
can help us detach from the emotional intensity of it.
totally.
Instead of feeling victimized or stalked,
Right.
we can choose to see the humor in the absurdity of it all.
And you know what else is interesting?
What?
Is that the OP isn't the only one dealing with this.
Oh, really?
A lot of the comments on the post are from other people,
Ah.
sharing their own stories about running into exes
Yeah.
in the most unexpected places.
Wow.
It's like a whole community of people
Mm-hmm.
united by awkward encounters.
That's so funny.
It's kind of comforting though, right?
It is. It highlights the fact that these experiences are way more common
Yeah.
than we might think.
Right.
And that shared experience, that sense of like we've all been there,
Yeah.
it can be surprisingly comforting.
Totally. Knowing you're not alone can take away some of the sting,
For sure.
especially if you're feeling embarrassed or self-conscious about your reaction.
Absolutely. And it reminds us that like life is full of these unexpected twists and turns.
Yeah.
You know, we can plan our paths meticulously, but sometimes the universe has other plans.
Right.
And it's about embracing those unexpected encounters,
Yeah.
even the awkward ones.
Right.
And seeing them as part of like the rich tapestry of human experience.
It's almost like those encounters, as uncomfortable as they might be,
Yeah.
are a reminder that we're all connected in ways we don't always realize.
Exactly. And those connections, even the ones that have ended, they've shaped who we are today. They've
Yeah.
taught us lessons.
Yeah.
They've brought us joy and pain.
Yeah.
And they've contributed to this complex, messy, beautiful journey of being human.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of awkward ex encounters,
Yeah.
what's the key takeaway you want our listeners to remember?
I think the most important thing is to remember that you have the power to choose
Okay.
how you respond to these situations.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's through humor or
Yeah.
mindfulness or simply acknowledging your feelings, you're in control of your own experience. And hey, maybe next time you run into an ex, instead of panicking, you'll just see it as an opportunity for a hilarious anecdote to share with your friends.
Yes, or even better,
Yeah.
on our Reddit thread.
No, that's a good idea.
So speaking of sharing,
Yeah.
if you're enjoying this deep dive into like the complexities of human experience, we'd love for you to hit that subscribe button
Yes, please do.
and tell your friends about Voices of the Soul.
And for even more thought-provoking content,
Yeah.
be sure to check out Shauna Pelage on YouTube.
Yes.
We're exploring all sorts of fascinating topics there.
We are.
From the psychology of relationships to the mysteries of the universe.
Who knows, maybe we'll even do a deep dive into the world of synchronicity and fate.
Ooh.
That would be an episode you wouldn't want to miss.
That's going on the list.
I love that idea.
Me too.
Synchronicity and fate. That's definitely going on the list.
Okay, good.
But for now, let's get back to our listener and their ex encounters.
Okay.
What's the best way to handle those moments when you actually bump into an ex?
Yeah.
Should you say hi? Avoid eye contact?
Well,
Make a run for the frozen food aisle?
there's no one-size-fits-all answer, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It really depends on the situation, the nature of your past relationship, and your own comfort level.
Right, because sometimes a quick hello is fine.
Yeah.
But other times it feels like opening a Pandora's box of awkwardness.
Oh.
So how do you know which approach is best?
I think it's about tuning into your intuition.
Okay.
And honoring your boundaries. If the thought of interacting with your ex sends your anxiety through the roof, it's totally okay to politely excuse yourself.
Right.
Or even just acknowledge their presence with like a nod.
Right.
And keep moving.
But what if you're worried about seeming rude or standoffish? Is there a way to navigate those encounters gracefully?
Yeah.
Without forcing yourself into an interaction you're not comfortable with?
Absolutely. Sometimes a simple smile and a brief, "Hi, how are you?" is enough to acknowledge their presence without getting into like a long conversation. You can keep it light and casual. And if you feel like the interaction is lingering, you can always politely excuse yourself by saying something like, "It was nice seeing you, but I've got to run."
Yeah, those are great tips.
Thanks.
It's all about finding that balance between being polite and respecting your own emotional needs.
Exactly. And remember, you don't owe anyone an explanation for your feelings.
Right.
It's totally valid to put your own well-being first in those situations.
I think that's such an important point.
Yeah.
We often feel pressured to act a certain way or to suppress our true feelings to avoid making other people uncomfortable.
Right.
But at the end of the day, taking care of yourself is never the wrong choice.
Couldn't agree more. It's about recognizing that you have the right to set boundaries.
Yes.
And protect your emotional space.
So to our listener out there who's been navigating the strange world of ex encounters, we hope this deep dive has given you some food for thought, some helpful tips.
For sure.
And maybe even a little reassurance that you're not alone in this.
We've all been there.
We have.
It's a normal part of life, especially in a world that's becoming increasingly interconnected.
Right.
And who knows, maybe those encounters, as awkward as they might seem, are just the universe's way of reminding us of the intricate web of connections that make up our lives.
I love that perspective.
Me too.
It takes away the fear and replaces it with a sense of wonder and possibility.
Exactly.
And on that note, we want to thank you for joining us for another deep dive on Voices of the Soul.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and share it with your friends.
And be sure to check out Shauna Pelage on YouTube for even more thought-provoking content.
We'll see you next time.
Until next time, stay curious, keep exploring. And remember, even the most awkward encounters can sometimes lead to the most profound insights.